here we go. It is time to do it. The top 50 albums of 2022. I've said already, but this little list season at the end of every single year is like a mini Christmas for me before Christmas. I love doing this shit. I love highlighting the best music of the year, of every given year. It's so much fun to do. I live and breathe music, so this is my jam. This is what I love to do, and I like to provide you guys with as many new recommendations as I possibly can, and to provide an interesting perspective on each album that I rank in these videos. So hopefully you get that, and also you get some recommendations too. So yeah, let's get on with this. Make sure you check out my Patreon if you haven't already to support me over there. For just $1 a month you get to join the Discord server, and for more than that you get other things as well. Last year you may have noticed that I did decrease my albums list to 40 albums. I do tend to do 50. I've bumped it back up to 50 this year. I have heard about the same amount of music as I did last year this year, maybe a little bit more, but I just think last year was slightly weaker in terms of the quantity of great releases, so that's why it dropped to 40, but we do tend to do a typical 50 list on this one. Okay, so we're back to the good side. Okay, we're back on the good side. We've got 50 albums here. Please tell me your top 50 in the comments, obviously, and tell me your thoughts on these. I'm not going to do the whole spiel about how 2022 was this kind of year for music and all that kind of stuff. I just want to talk about the music. I don't think there's a particular theme to tie up this year, honestly. I just think there's been great albums, great songs, and I'm here to highlight them. Let's waste no more time then. Number 50, Confidence Man, Tilt. A bit of a grow with this one, actually. I did start to go back to some of these tracks and enjoy them quite a bit more, like Angry Girl, Break It, Bought It is a fun little banger as well. They're just really fun and silly and don't take themselves too seriously. They're pretty underrated. I think a lot of people would get a lot out of this kind of dance style music, and yeah, they're on my list. And at number 49, we've got Fred Again's album, which was just full of some atmospheric moments and just some straight up bangers as well in the house genre. One of the best rap albums on the year, easily, from Black Thought and Danger Mouse here. God damn, so good. The production is absolutely as fantastic as you'd expect. The rapping is Black Thought, so of course it's going to be fantastic. This has to be on the list. Two albums that were discovered for me next. At number 47, ooodisea, with the most harrowing and haunting album of the year, I would say. And then at number 46, we got Honningbarna, again another discovery that you guys found for me, one of the best fiery, punky rock albums of the year. Couldn't quite get around to doing a full video on this, but let it be known that Little Simz dropped a really good album again, and she is cementing herself as one of the goats in hip-hop, to be honest. This is quite the legacy, because the run of albums she's had has been fantastic, and No Thank You is another addition to a really good discography. At number 44, Bonobo with his album Fragments, one of the most consistent discographies in music. This guy is an absolute legend of the electronic genre, a bit underrated actually, I think, but makes some fantastic music, as he has always done across his career. And then next at number 43, we've got one of the biggest albums of the year from the Weeknd, Dawn FM. I did have a few reservations with this album in my review, you may remember, but in terms of just pure replayability, this has some of the best songs of the year that are just so fun to go back to, and he's really starting to nail the pop sound as well, because this is the style that he should be honing in on, because he's so good at it. Number 42, one of the more eclectic albums of the year in the electronic genre, with a fantastic John Hopkins feature on it as well, HAAi. This is a really good album. Pigeon Baron is absolutely mental. And then next we got Big Thief with probably their most acclaimed album to date, to be quite honest with you. And yeah, you can definitely see why. It's a long one for them, and I don't quite think I would put it at the top of their discography in terms of a ranking. I think it's really good, but it's just their usual blissful, wonderful folk sound for like a really long length album. So, you know, if you like what they do, you're getting way more of it on this album. Wet Leg at number 40, one of the more fun and tongue-in-cheek indie bands to come out over the past few years. I've been kind of crying out for a band to be a bit more tongue-in-cheek and self-aware with their silly humour, and Wet Leg came through and gave me exactly what I was looking for. And then at number 39, Avantdale Bowling Club. Just on a hot streak of jazz rap albums, this guy and this band, Tom Scott and his band here, Amazing stuff again. The production is stellar. The rapping is as on point as it ever was. So good. 38, we got Tigran Hamasyan with one of the best jazz albums of the year. And then at number 37, we got Gospel, coming back after like 17 years and basically not sounding like they've aged a day. This is so good. At number 36, we got Tipper with Marble Hunting, the wonky angle proving that once again he is one of the GOATs to recommend electronic music. And then at number 35, we got Grace Cummings, one of the more underrated singer-songwriter albums of the year. Got lots of strange approaches with her vocals that create such a cool atmosphere. One of the coolest albums of the year in terms of how it sounds. I think Nick Cave fans would like her. 34, I think Jenny Hval has really honed in on her sound and created a really nice baroque chamber pop album here. Some wonderful vocals coming through. And then number 33, Hatena with one of the most bonkers house albums of the year. Mydreamfever dropped right at the start of the year and it still stuck with me right until the end of the year with a beautiful modern classical album here. At number 31, we've got Cities Aviv with one of the best abstract hip-hop albums of the year. A really great artist here that I think more people should be checking out. And then number 30, we got a band who you think can't be ever knocked down. You think they're done, you think they're probably not going to drop a great album again, and then they come back and like they prove you wrong every goddamn time. The Mountain Goats. Just when you think they've got no more new concepts to deliver, they come through with this really fun film narrative album where every track is its own story based on some kind of action film or action TV show. Oh, it's so good. 29, Giganta, one of the more bubbly electronic albums of the year. And then number 28, my boy Vale-Smith, who seems to just keep getting better and better every goddamn time. Coruscate has to be on my list, one of the more replayable albums for me this year. It's so addictive. Courting being one of the more underrated post-punk bands coming out of the UK at the moment, I think, with their new album, their debut album here. I think it's fantastic. It's got great songs like Tennis on it and Jumper. And then at number 26, one of the more joyful albums I had this year from the soul genre, Finnish band Punomo. Really good stuff, this one. Right, at number 25, we've got Jockstrap with their debut album again as well. Really cool electronic stuff being meshed together with all kinds of weird little oddities. It's a great one. And then one of the smoothest house albums of the year at 24, Tourist with Avalanche. Jeigo at 23 with one of the more acidy techno house albums of the year. And then number 22, we got They Hate Change with a fantastic blend of hip hop and drum and bass instrumentals with some really cool rapping as well. Super excited for these guys. I think they could be something truly special as the years go by. Redveil at number 21 with one of the best hip hop albums of the year from a super young guy here. The talent is oozing. I am super excited again for the future of him because he's still like, what, 19 or 20 or something? He's so young. He's so good though. Right, now we're in the top 20. As always, this is the exciting part. I'm going to talk a little bit more about these albums in a slightly more detail than I was before. So stick around because we've got plenty more to discuss. And we've got Emperor X kicking off the top 20 now with their newest album here, and I think it is basically one of their best they've ever done. And so poignant with the writing, as always. Some really fun ideas being thrown around. Yeah, of course, the influences are pretty clear. You know, you've got Mountain Goats being one of them, who also appeared on this very list. But I think he does just enough with his writing to separate himself from other artists, I think. I really like what he does. And yeah, the tunes are great. Freeway in Heaven sounds fantastic. It's got glorious instrumental. Super good. I think there's lots to like about this artist here. 2 years ago, she got my album of the year, and at number 19, she's once again on a hot streak of releases. My God, her discography is fantastic. Natalia Lafourcade. I really liked how on this album, she really found a way to create a more sophisticated sound with her music. It just has more of an elegance to it this time. And there's some amazing songs on here like Muerte as well. Yeah, just Natalia doing what Natalia does best. And she's just somehow sounding as good as the previous release every single time. A super eclectic and creative electronic album next from Hudson Mohawke. Seriously, this guy knows how to be as creative and as wild as he possibly can while just making the song sound so bloody good. I mean, you got Big Stan, Is It Supposed as well on this album. Some amazing ideas coming through. One of his best ever albums. In fact, I'd even put it at the top of his list, to be honest. And yeah, one of his tracks from a previous release did become a bit of a meme this year. But I promise you now, if that meme is something that puts you off trying his music because of what it was attached to, I'm not going to spoil the meme because I think it's really funny if you find it for yourself. But if you are, ignorant of all of that, or you are put off by even his music, by just that thing, look, try it. Seriously, so creative, so colourful, so full of life, and just nothing like anyone else is really doing. At number 17, we got one of the biggest growers of the year for me personally. Not the biggest though, we'll get to that soon. But Rosalia is landing here with Motomami, who really blew me away with how much this album grew on me, to be honest. I think the ideas are so lively and energetic, and she's really pushing the boundaries with tracks like Cute as well. It's her typical Latin sounding stuff with just a bit of a twist being spun on it, honestly. Like, she's super enigmatic and strange with the way she approaches things, and I think that gives her the edge above other artists in her lane, actually. And yeah, I think this might be her best album to date. It's fantastic. Let's Eat Grandma at number 16. Next, one of the more beautifully put together pop albums of the year, and lyrically it is really full of love as well. I think the imagery that's presented through the lyrics and the hopeless romanticism that comes through as well is super relatable for a lot of people out there. And it's only been recently that I've started to notice how much love there is pouring out of this album, and I appreciate it even more for that when I did initially review it, and I still thought it was great then. But Hall and Mirrors, Levitation, amazing pop tunes, man. These guys stepped it up from their first album, in my opinion. Alvvays next at 15. They're 3 for 3 now with really good releases. I think they are putting themselves in the conversation as being one of the best dream pop acts out there at the moment. I mean, they kind of already were in that conversation, but I think Blue Rev essentially cements that, because I think they slightly shifted their sound a little bit more on this album to be a bit more shoegaze heavy and a bit more atmospheric heavy, but it still hasn't sucked away any of the tunes, because After the Earthquake and Many Mirrors are still fantastically made songs. And yeah, I'm just super impressed with these guys. I think they're on a really good streak right now. Another artist that's on a great streak, First Aid Kit at number 14. One of the best artists out there for me at the moment. They've not really put a foot wrong across their entire discography, and they keep just wowing me with their harmonies. I don't know how they'll ever bore me with their harmonies, because I think that is one of the biggest features of their music, and yet somehow it doesn't really seem to be getting old anytime soon. But they've slightly shifted things a little bit more to an indie rock sound with some of these tracks, so I think that's done a good job of making things feel fresh, but the clean production really lifts their vocals and just makes it sound like a really well recorded and well produced album. They're really good. I like First Aid Kit. I have a soft spot for them, I think. One of the most exciting rock stars out there at the moment for me, Jean Dawson. He hasn't put a foot wrong yet with his music, and this newest album isn't quite as good as his 2020 release, I wouldn't say, but it's still fantastic, and he's just kind of becoming one of the more exciting rock stars out there at the moment, because I think the heavy guitar moments on this album really shine a light on the kind of artist he's attempting to become. And I'm not really sure why there aren't really more rock fans talking about him or putting him up there with one of the better artists out there at the moment, because I think he is. And I think his youthful spirit, his youthful energy, his youthful lyrics give him the edge to be very relatable for a lot of people out there as well, a lot of young people out there. He's got it all. He's really got it all. At number 12, Orville Peck with Bronco. One of the biggest turnarounds for me, because I didn't actually like his debut album all that much, but this album here, I think, again, just stepping things up in such a great way. And goddamn, did he do that. The vocal performances, the passion, the emotional energy coming through these lyrics. It's just fantastic. It's really, really good. It's so well made, and it is easily one of the best country albums of the year. Another artist that really turned it around for me next at number 11, Jack White. I think his solo work so far has been a bit messy, has been a bit patchy, hasn't always quite landed for me well, but Fear of the Dawn, my friends, good God, what an album this one is. He really stepped things up. He's just going way more at it with the buzzy guitars and the heavier drums. Everything just feels like it's so full of rage and excitement. It's gotta be up there one of the best rock albums of the past few years for me. And I don't really understand why it didn't get any Grammy attention. I don't think it was listed as one of the best rock albums of the year according to the Grammys, and I don't really understand why or how. This is easily up there with one of the best of the year. And I think the creativity coming through is always there with Jack. He's still got that kind of oddity energy. You know, there's a frigging Q-tip feature on here, for God's sake. But it all works. It really does. Right, now we're in the top 10. We're in the big boys. We're in the big boys. And there've already been some big boys already. Now we're here with Feiertag, with the fantastic Dive album. This was one of the aha moments of the year for me, discovering this. Yeah, this was a revelation in the house genre, because this guy is brilliant, and he basically records a lot of his drumming himself, and he's using a lot of wonderful vocal samples to go along with his music as well. This guy sounds fantastic, and there's even some like Nicholas Jar energy coming through with some of these tracks. A bit of James Blake as well when he's doing his more like housey electronic stuff. It's great. This is really good. And again, another house album to add to the list that's getting overlooked by the music nerds. I don't know what it is with house, but it just seems to be a genre of music that no one really seems to rave about. But there's so much greatness to be discovered, man. Listen to this. At number 9, we've kind of got another underrated album really here. Jaron, with a great atmospheric, nice soft tones, pillowy, cushiony electronic album with some really great vocals to go along with it as well. Honestly, the best way to describe this would be to basically tell you that if you liked Porter Robinson's Nurture from last year, then you are 100% going to at least enjoy this, because it's got all of the qualities that that album had. And I think Jaron, again, is another one to watch for the future. This is great. At number 8, I did say there was going to be another big grower for the year, and it is, of course, Hatchie with Giving the World Away. I liked this album a lot when it first came out, but I was crazy to only give it a 7 out of 10. But I think seeing her live in that nice, intimate setting that I did in Manchester just really gave the album a new sort of light for me that just made me look at the tracks differently. And yeah, of course, she's kind of giving us what she gave us on her debut album with the dreamy, sugary, soft aesthetic coming through, but also trying some new things like she did on the rhythm as well, which I think sound really good for her. And I think she could push this even further and try even new stuff in the future. And yeah, what a great album this one is. She's 2 for 2 now with albums. Her first album was in my top 10 for 2019 that was. Now she's in my top 10 again 3 years later. Good stuff. At number 7, one of the wackiest, wildest and weirdest albums of the year, coming from Black Midi. They are just giving us mad stuff every goddamn time. Their debut, Cavalcade, and now of course we've got Hellfire, which was one of the wildest experiences of the year. It sounds like you're literally entering some kind of carnival in the depths of hell. That's the best way to describe it. And some really creative lyrical moments come through too. As always, they are a really great band and are deserving of all the props they're getting from the kind of music nerds out there that love this kind of shit. Number 6, one of the more fun and lively little rap albums of the year that just has such a great, nice little energy coming through it. We got Smino, and I'm actually really surprised at how high this has landed on my list, but going back to it over and over again has just really made it one of the more exciting listens for me this year. I think in terms of his delivery, he's sounding really fresh. and different to a lot of other people in the game right now. And there's some fantastic features even coming through on this album too, from Raven Lenae, Doechii, and J. Cole as well. And I wouldn't even call myself the biggest J. Cole fan, but I think that track with them two on is great. So yeah, that southern rap vibe coming through with some more quirky elements here and there, with his really unique delivery that no one else can really say that they've got anything like. Just makes this one of the more interesting listens for me in 2022. We've made it to the top 5, and here we are starting with one of the most overlooked albums of the year for some bizarre reason, Universal Credit by Jessie. Yes, this for me is up there with one of the best albums of the year, and I would even argue and say that it probably is the best hip-hop album of this year as well, just in terms of what he's able to provide with his lyrical ideas, and how vivid and detailed he is, and how he basically just gets it. He gets the poverty, he gets what it's like to be coming from nothing. Like, he really does, and some of the descriptive details in there prove that he knows as well. He's not one of those kind of showy rappers that are just like, starting from the bottom, now we're here, you know, that Drake song. And a lot of rappers do try and go with that, and they don't really add any new ideas or nuance to what they're saying. Jessie, no, he knows what it's like. Some of the really striking moments lyrically show that as well, and the tongue-in-cheek album cover really adds to it perfectly too. Yeah, I think this is one of the best of the past few years in hip-hop, because he really knows how to rap really well from the heart while also giving us some really great beats, and the lyrics are next level. FKA Twigs at number 4, she really proved to us that she knows how to make a good pop tune, as well as her artsy and creative approach that she's taken across her entire career so far. It's really cool to see that she just went all out and threw in some really interesting cultural influences coming from the UK, but also from other places as well, just adding to this album with some like dancehall moments as well. Just really made for such a great listen, and from start to end there isn't really a track that I would say, that's not worth your time. They're all worth throwing onto some kind of little dance fun playlist that you could play at any point and have a great time with, because she's somehow stepped into this world while also still having that kind of artsy edge coming through as well. But yeah, she's really shown here how much versatility she has, because these could have all been really mediocre tracks, but they're not. They're fun, they're bouncy, they're replayable, and that is a testament to how good she is as an artist. Speaking of versatility, did not see this one coming this year, and I'm not sure many people did. Beyonce gave us her dance house record, and my God, is it one for the ages as well. Man, look, I don't know what the hell was going on here, but Beyonce sounds like she should have been doing this the whole time, because she has slipped into this style of music so seamlessly and has put out some of the best dance songs of the entire year. You've got freaking Energy, which is a banger. You got freaking Cuff It, which is a banger. You got freaking Break My Soul, which is a banger. You got Pure Honey, which is a banger. You got Summer Renaissance, which is a banger. I could list off the whole thing. Every goddamn track is a slapper, my friends, and I am so impressed. And look, it is deserving of the hype it's getting. You know, it might even win Album of the Year at the Grammys. It's on every year unless you've seen so far already. And I know there are some people out there that are skeptical and dubious of Beyonce and everyone just being so biased towards her music. I've liked Beyonce in the past, but I've never really loved her albums. I think Lemonade is probably the closest to that. But look, I'm a sucker for some dance and house music, and she nailed the hell out of it. I ain't just here to, take a paycheck from her record label and just throw it on the list just so I can get some kind of good recognition from Beyonce and her team in the future and do some interviews that I know some publications do with their praising of albums and artists and all that kind of shit. There's no conspiracy here. This is the 3rd best album of the year in my opinion, and it is bloody brilliant. Okay, we're getting closer now, but at number 2, just missing out of the top spot, is Everything, Raw Data Feel. Look, I am so surprised that they have gave us this album, because the past few albums have been kind of okay, they've been all right, but they've not really got close to the level of Get to Heaven. Get to Heaven has such a strange energy to it, coming through the vocals, the madness, the wackiness, with some amazing instrumentals. And just since then, it's not really like they've been able to come close to it, but they really did with this one. This is nearly on par with that album, in my opinion. I think it's got some of the more unique lyrical ideas being thrown in at us this year, with the AI sort of simulated lyrics that they tested and threw in the album, and all that kind of stuff that they did, with some of the catchiest moments of the year as well. Teletype, Pizza Boy, Shark Week and Cut Up are absolute bangers, honestly. Absolute bangers. And yeah, Leviathan as well. And Leviathan and Jennifer are the two sort of like slowed down, well, not slowed down, but more like, I guess, striking moments on an emotional level, and yet they nail that too. There just isn't really any misses on this album. And I think what they're doing musically and what they're doing with the vocals is just so creative, and they're up there one of the better bands from the UK at the moment, easily. And yeah, they just did enough to freshen it up from their previous stuff to make it feel new and fresh, and it's brilliant. And it was so close to being my album of the year. But at the start of December, one of the most anticipated albums I've had for quite some time, due to all of the singles that this artist has released, it just had to be Breakins. It had to be Breakins. It had to be Hypochondriac by Breakins. It lived up to everything I had hoped from this album. It did everything I wanted it to do and more. These genre fusions are fantastic. He's giving us some pop punk here, he's giving us some hyper pop there, he's giving us some hip hop there, and he's just giving us some straight up catchy pop tunes all across the board. And it just creates one of the most unique listens, I think, of this genre at the moment. You know, emo trap has kind of sort of fizzled out a little bit, but it's managed to become a bit more unique and fresh with the way that artists like Breakins is doing, or, you know, with the hyper pop stuff as well. You've got Delete Zeke out there, and you've got some of the more pop stuff like Aries, and it's just all of that kind of accumulated into one album, with Breakins's really slick and swagger delivery that just makes him sound so cool. He doesn't have the best lyrical pen in the game, but you do not need that when you are making songs this good, and his delivery is selling a lot of what he's saying as well. So that is the more important thing. Yes, I know you might cringe at some of these written down, but the way he says them doesn't really make them bad to me. And with the fact that the music is so like modern sounding, it just sounds like the sound of the 2020s to me. I feel like there's going to be so many artists that come through and try and do this coming through over the next course of the decade. Whether I'm right about that or wrong could be discovered within the next few years. I could easily be wrong with that prediction, and that's fine. But even if I'm wrong, we've still got this album here, which is the album of the year for 2022, and it's that fantastic that I probably only need one of them. So there you go. Breakins, with all of the singles he released, I was so hopeful that this was going to be good. You know, CBD, Argyle, Venus Flytrap, among many others, and they've all just come through into creating such a fantastic record, and I'm so impressed. I love this shit. It's so replayable and addictive. My album of the year for 2022. And thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed this list, please subscribe, please like the video, please let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you agree with my picks, if you disagree, if you get any recommendations from this video and then you like them, please let me know. I always love seeing what people think of the recommendations I bring. It's always a nice moment for, you know, music discussions. It's beautiful stuff. So I hope you got plenty of them from this video here. I hope you enjoyed what I had to say. And that's it for 2022. The albums of the year is done. The songs of the year, the EPs of the year, and all the other lists I've given you throughout the year, throughout the course of December, they're all done. So please stick around for 2023. Do enjoy your Christmas period and your New Year period and all of that. Have a good day. Subscribe, please, if you haven't already. And goodbye. Goodbye. Album of the year 2022, Breakins. Goodbye.